Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fine.
Oh, did that? Is that already done? I'm like sitting here looking over here and I'm like, looking at something. And then I look over, wait, the intro was already done? I am so off this morning, man. I woke up. I felt like I got hit by a ton of bricks. You know what it was? Is those freaking kids are back and want to sleep in the bed, and it makes me sweat like a pig. All right. So, yesterday was a holiday, so first trading day of the week. You have treasuries a little bit higher here today. Let's go and take a look at the charts here. It is rollovers for soybeans today, by the way. So we got here just a little bit of upside action in the overnight session, but the first little bit of our regular session has been selling. So let's see. S&P 500 continues to struggle a little bit here. It was complete. I mean, really, President's Day was just so flat. Oh my gosh, right? Oil still doing okay, but having a little bit of a sell-off overnight. I didn't see any particular headlines that really stuck out to me as to why oil might be moving down, but we got gold and silver are still kind of bid. So we are maybe seeing some like global turmoil, sort of flight to safety trading going on. I don't know. And here's copper. Copper's doing okay. Japanese yen. Yeah, it's up a little bit, so it's kind of tracking the treasuries here. And the dollar continues to kind of look weak since that CPI. They haven't completely retraced the CPI, but they're getting close. They might do it today. It's like 103.8586. And we got Bitcoin. Bitcoin's still just in the range above 50K. And that's what we got. So we got to pay attention to this activity right here. I mean, that's a decent amount of trend to the downside, but that's kind of like within the wiggle room. So we'll see if there really is some selling flows here. I mean, I am seeing some things in the 5-year and the 30-year kind of suggesting that is the way that we're going, but it's not entirely clear yet. I do think I'm still biased to the downside. Otherwise, I wouldn't be keeping this swing short. So let's just see how it goes. Yeah. Anyways, good morning, Dom. Good morning, Octavius. Let's see here. Brainerd, the CHIPS program is ongoing. More announcements to come. Cool, I guess. Oh, I guess we do have Canadian numbers at the bottom of the hour. Do you have a course? I do not have a course. Maybe someday I'll write a book. If you go to speculatorsoft.com/strategy.html, you can sign up for the mailing list and it will send you a free PDF. And that is the closest thing that I have to a course. I think one of the key things to realize here is that trading here is a process. Learning to trade is a process. It's not something where you learn all of the things and then you go and you do it, right? So I give you kind of a base level foundation of knowledge, things about the market that we have proven through empirical research, and that is kind of the base that you then use to watch the market every day and learn from the market. And in general, I wouldn't recommend buying courses for the most part. I mean, I don't know. I take that back. There are some courses that, you do learn some things and they are good, but I think people have it in their minds that like, I'm going to take a certain course and then I'm going to be a profitable trader. Doesn't work like that. I'm not going to say the courses aren't worth it, that you don't learn some things that, would be difficult to learn on your own and you learn them faster and all those sorts of things. But like, you're probably still not going to like make it back through trading or anything like that. There's no free lunch. Okay, so they are trying to come back up here. I am seeing actually a lot going back and forth here in this like 27.5, 28 area. So I think that's kind of the thing that we're looking for, is like, okay, so I've seen some selling, some signs that they want to sell. Is it just going to trend down today? Well, no, I think the answer is no, because we are getting some pushback now. We are getting not just absorption on the bid, but some fairly aggressive market orders hitting the other way as well. Also, there's a lot of great free sources. Well, I think that my videos on here and that free PDF are some of the best resources on day trading out there. So, man, I had trouble like sleeping last night and sweated a lot in the night, and I think I'm just dehydrated because my lips are like really chapped this morning too. Okay, so the Canadian CPI month over month was expected to be spot 4 and it was 0. And their core was 0.1. So I think that's why the treasuries moved up a few ticks there. Kind of interesting because that data kind of contradicts the American data considerably. Yeah, they're really pushing up now. Maybe that, I usually ignore Canadian numbers, but maybe the traders were looking at those numbers more than usual. And maybe that action that we saw first 10 minutes was kind of preparation for that. But it looks like they're bidding it up pretty strongly now. And are we seeing the dollar falling? We are. I'm going to watch that 103.85 area still. Now, I was thinking about that comment about, like, there's many great resources online. There are, but there's also a lot of BS online. I mean, and that's kind of the problem, is that there's a couple of really key misunderstandings of the market in the retail world, and they just get promoted over and over again. I think the one that is like the biggest is retail traders who promote large stop strategies is what I call it. Basically a strategy where your stop is much larger than your target and you get a high win rate. I saw this subreddit that was like called Real Day Trading, and they are like, you got to read the wiki, and then when you go and you read the wiki, their strategy is essentially to have a large stop, right? And when you have a large stop, you'll get a high win rate, and there are some advantages to that, sure. But the problem with the large win rate is that it increases your far left tail, and it prevents you from seeing the actual effectiveness of your strategy, because all you see is that you win every time. And so you're not actually getting accurate feedback to adjust what you're doing. And so there's all of these people that they have these trading kind of ideas, especially these price action guys. And like all of the feedback that they're getting from the market about their strategy is complete BS, essentially, right? It's lying. It's not really accurate to what it is, because the profit that they're making is entirely a result of the large stop. And so they think that they're doing really, really great, and then all at once to blow the account because it increases that far left tail. And this is so pervasive in the retail trading community. It's basically like I've basically given up on really trying to interface with the majority of the rest of the community because of this one particular thing. Because anybody that you see, they come along and they're telling you, oh yeah, I'm making money. That's what they're doing. That's why they're doing it. And you can say, well, yeah, but have you made money 5 years in a row? They never have. They almost never make it past like 3 or 4 years. 3 is on the higher end. I see 1 and 2 years all the time, but 3 years they usually don't last that long. There was some aggressive selling there at 30 and 29.5, getting smacked back down. Patrick Whalen. Can you believe that guy is still around? I prefer to like not talk about other people, especially when it's like, you know, some people are trying their hardest, yada yada yada. Like a lot of people diss on Matt lately. Well, I think that he's got some things wrong, but I think he's trying to be honest about it. I don't know, but Patrick is just an out full on charlatan. The number of times that he's been caught like faking his results and admitting it, and then, you know, like reforming and coming back is just like, it's so retarded. That's been like 3 or 4 times now, and I just can't believe that anybody still watches that crap. I remember like back in the day when we started that he was getting big, and we were always like, yeah, it's kind of funny that that's the sort of thing that goes popular, right? And then it was like justice served when he admitted that he was faking it all, right? And he's still around, and he still makes tons of money from his YouTube. It's just ridiculous. It's just beyond parody, you know, like that's one that I'm kind of sitting here like, I have absolutely zero problem dissing him. Like, zero respect there, man. Especially when you like outright lie to your, I have zero respect for anybody that is intentionally lying to their audience, you know? I know how easy it would be. Let's sit here and be like, oh yeah, you're gonna make $1 million. Come do exactly what I tell you. You make $1 million. I could tell you to have a large stop and a really short target, right? And I'd probably be rich off of YouTube, right? I don't do that because I want to make good traders, not to, you know, I mean, I would like to be more popular on YouTube. I would like to make more money on YouTube. Let's put it that way, right? But not at the expense of hurting your progression, right? Well, they're back to 28.5, so we're back to where we started before the news. It was a pretty quick rush up. Somebody did buy up some, and then they sold it back pretty aggressively. Now, that could be the same player that bought on that news, dumping it. I don't know. I've seen a few futures content creators that use sim accounts and claim they're making money. Well, I have no problem with the people using a sim account as long as they're not lying and saying that it's live, right? Like, I try to make it clear to you guys when these trades are sim and when they're not. I've kind of pulled back a little bit from the live trades. Partly because, you know, I had a little bit of a loss and I kind of wanted to take a break, but also partly is I don't know if this market is very favorable for me. Yeah, I bet they claim it's a real account. I've seen some people, like there's this one lady that was selling NinjaTrader strategies, like automated strategies. I think that one pissed me off the most, to be honest with you. That's the one where Daniel Linsky, he made a video about it, and then I like responded to his video because he was making good points, but he didn't understand all the technicals about it. So I went into the technicals about it. That one really pissed me off because like this lady was like pulling some of the craziest tricks. Like you have like 4 different robots on different accounts and you all have them trade, and one of them just swings long that day and one of them just swings short that day, and then you show the one that won that day. It's just that lady is just outright fraud. Like what they're doing is just outright fraud. Canadian/Japanese went horrible opposite ways. Are they on an inverse correlation? Well, it's so I think. Well, I don't know about if the Canadian dollar versus the Japanese yen went in different directions, but the Japanese yen is rising right now. So did the Canadian dollar fall off of that news? That would be kind of interesting that inflation was pretty contained over there and their currency declined. But you did see the dollar weaken there. We're not quite to critical levels, but the dollar, if the dollar continues to sell, that will probably be a pretty major factor behind the rest of the market movement that we get today. So that's probably the thing I'm watching the most right now. Now that the treasuries returned back to where they were and are kind of a little bit calmer now, I'm thinking that the treasury market looks pretty neutral to me now. So I'm keeping an eye on the dollar to see if they're ready to sell the dollar or not. say that the MBOs on the offer are thickening up. Well, there's some fairly big orders on the bid too. Like you see those 4K, 5K, 4K at between 27 and 28. That's that's significantly more than any of the offers that we have right now. It's about 500 contracts more than what we've got on the offers right now. But the market orders, though, they look mixed. So I don't know if there's really like big players out there kind of stocking ready to do something. I'm not sure I see that. So any thickening up may just be market makers saying, oh yeah, I'm totally willing to make a market in this area. We'll see, but well, I think that there's still enough going on in here that we might be able to make some tiny scalps here in the treasuries. I don't think that I will, both because I did not feel very good when I woke up this morning, so that's always kind of a warning to me to like maybe shouldn't trade. But then also I have this swing on, so I probably need to focus a little bit on that. I mean, it's a sim trade and everything, but I really want to make sure that, well, let's not say let's make sure, but to me, it's kind of an experiment like, okay, what if I was swing trading, or what if I was doing a CTA strategy? What would I be doing? Well, I think that I would be watching this position very carefully. Although, should I really be watching? Because the idea is to be holding them. So, I don't know. I don't, like, paying attention wouldn't necessarily make me do anything different. I'm just seeing right there between 29 and 29.5. Possibly an opportunity to get a tick. I'm not entirely sure of the trend though, so I might be a little bit hesitant to do that one, but I definitely see the opportunity to get filled there. Like, especially if I was able to get filled at 29. What do you think about Euro USD? The data should be positive for the dollar. Wait, what about the data is positive for the dollar? The data that we just had from Canada? Because the data that we just had from Canada was that inflation is pretty contained in Canada. And that kind of suggests perhaps that the inflation data that we got here in the US is, you know, maybe an aberration and will peter out very quickly. And that is generally bad for the dollar, right? That means that maybe interest rates will not stay high for as long. And that will be not as much money coming over into the dollar. That's why the dollar is falling. If I had 1 million, honestly, with the strategies that I have at my disposal, I mean, I guess if I had $1 million and I could day trade $1 million, and I could probably make 10% a year off of that, potentially, maybe. But at that point, why not just put all of your money into a dividend paying index fund, right? And just make the 10% from that, for instance, right? So like the strategies that I want to trade, like momentum strategies, long, short, these sorts of things, really you need more like 10 million. So I guess with 10 million, you could maybe pick stocks. See, it's funny because there's a lot of questions involved there, right? For me, about $2 million would probably be enough to retire on. So if I all of a sudden got $2 million, I would probably just put it into an index fund. It's like, why bother trading it if you can live for the rest of your life on it, right? So if I was really going to have like risk capital to really go crazy with it, you know, I'd have to have money beyond that. But let's just say that I had $1 million beyond that, right? Already I have fully funded my retirement, and I really need to go in and just take risks with the extra money that I've made. I think that my first choice at that amount of money would probably be stock picking, like managing a portfolio of like 5 to 10 stocks. And I would be leaning on the high beta side, which hasn't done very well lately. The RTY hasn't done very well past year or two. But that's where I would be investing. If I had $10 million, I would start a momentum fund. I guess that's kind of the thing that a lot of people don't understand is that you day trade because that's what's available to you. Like, day trading is the bottom of the heap, okay? These people that are like millionaires and billionaires, they aren't day traders. They never made it from day trading. Day trading is the absolute lowest of the low, the locals, etc. These were like kind of working class people back in the 80s when they were doing it. So, who would trade UB? Okay. One of the things it's like, okay, most retail traders lose money. Some people lose it faster than others, right? Oh, that's right. I have a meeting to listen to this morning, so. Flash crash trader. Well, okay, so the flash crash trader made a lot of money. He lost it all, basically. Right? That one's a very interesting case, right? But that is probably the best example of kind of the case that I'm making. Is like, he was a pure scalper. He was a liquidity provider. He was making big money doing it. And then the robots came along and he couldn't compete anymore, and that's why he did what he did. And then, yeah, the money that he did make, he put it into like these funds and stuff that like lost it all. He basically got scammed as far as we can tell. I mean, I'm a little skeptical about that. This is like, oh, it just all disappeared, huh? Okay. But the flipper was scammed? That's not the flipper. The flipper trades in Singapore now, my understanding. So that's kind of what happened, was that when the robots came along, the guys like the flipper that were making a lot of money from doing it moved on to less developed markets. The flipper? Okay, 30 million. But again, when I'm talking about these big traders and stuff that you see on TV, like 30 million is a small fund. Right? Flipper made some big money for sure, but that was before. And quite frankly, from doing quite a manipulative strategy that isn't really moral. So I don't know if we should look at the flipper as the model strategy or person to follow, right? So I didn't have a chance to go and try and add those things in there, but or were you able to actually, let's duplicate this over here and see if it's any different today when I put it on a 1-day chart, now that, you know, data should be going. Yeah, see, now today when I put it on a 1-day chart, it works for me. So hopefully it fixes yours. You don't start being taken seriously until you have a fund with $1 billion? Maybe? I used to be able to see the credit limit of every Goldman client. And I'm just telling you, like, 30 million small. Small fund. One of the things that we don't realize about a lot of these funds is that a lot of, like, well, maybe mutual funds, but even funds like pension funds and stuff, but will invest in these things. Pension funds can kind of reduce their overall risk by having a small amount of their money invested in a hedge fund of some sort. And so there is actually insane amounts of money out there available for these hedge funds, because there's all of these pension funds, right? Like every municipality that you can think of, right? When you think about cities that have thousands of employees, right? That adds up into millions and billions of dollars very, very quickly. And so we think like $1 billion is a ton. No, $1 trillion is a ton. Okay, $1 trillion under management, you're big, right? That's like, I think that Goldman is probably up to like 5 or 6 trillion now. It's more impressive when you have $1 billion fund that returns 20% per year. Yeah. Well, because if you're doing like a momentum strategy, I know that you probably, well, the stuff that I was kind of looking at, they were using 10 million in their examples. And like one of the problems is the sizing. Is you come in and you say, I want to risk X% of my portfolio. How many contracts is that? And what if that's less than one contract? Then you can't do it. That sort of thing, right? So your fund needs to be big enough that the sizing in the different contracts doesn't really matter to you, so that you can size it correctly. How far that scales, a strategy like that scales, I'm not entirely sure. I think that it probably could scale to billions. Can you tell me what is on your top and bottom charts to see MES? Yeah, so the top ones are the treasuries. ZB, ZN, ZF, so 30, 10, and 5 are going across the top. And then down on the bottom, I have the micro treasuries, and I also have oil. Actually, do I need to switch oil? I forget. Yeah, we should be on April. Oh, no, we are on April. That's H. Okay, so Tacklag says, same behavior. Handle is when I try. Could it be a license problem? Well, so try this. When you go to new, do you have the market depth tape? And what happens when you pull up the market depth tape? Then you put it on like ZN or ES or whatever. If there was a licensing problem, then I don't think that it's a licensing problem, but no, that's gone? How is that gone? That's not right. Oh. Well, now that I think about it, I don't recall. Maybe you have. It does say that you have a license problem with the tape. I'm not sure, just with your name, I don't ever remember seeing a purchase from you. So you would have to send me an email with your NinjaTrader machine ID. If I have your machine ID, then I could go and look at it. Maybe you are, because it works. Oh, no purchase. Oh, okay. Say, yeah. Okay. So what you got to do is send me your machine ID, and I can extend your trial. Is what I can do if it's that. I don't think that your machine ID is sensitive information, but you probably should email it to me anyways. There has been some activity here in the ZN, but it's been extremely constrained. So I think my feeling that after that news that we were returning back into a constrained market laid out so far. I don't know though. I don't think that the indicators would just not should show you a message when you add it to the chart. But so is Canadian. What are you talking about? Yeah. Anyway, so on the conversation we were having, all about percentage return with a higher amount, it gets hard to start making larger year-over-year percentage when you get larger. Yes, but I don't know if $1 billion is too big. I don't know when too big is for us, for like a swing strategy or a momentum strategy. I don't know how big is too big. I think that when you get bigger, there are more things that you have to account for. But I think that those strategies still kind of work. No. What you do is you go into Ninja Trader and you go help about. And then in there, you will see a machine ID. And you have to send me that machine ID. Just heard a really weird glitch from the news squawk there. I have to say though, I remember there being many $1 billion funds and $10 billion funds. There's always, but like, you know, 10 to 50 million was like small. And I'm sitting here like, where do you raise $10 million from? I don't have those kinds of connections. I don't know if I got to figure out how to make those kinds of connections is what I got to do. So I've got like a tiny little hair on my head that like as the wind blows, it like moves the hair and I can feel it on my head and it kind of like, but like I shaved my, I took and shaved that area. So I don't understand why I'm feeling something there now. I don't. Well, yeah, it's with private investors, but like, I don't know anybody that has an extra $1 million to spare. Do any of you guys have an extra $1 million to share to start our momentum fund with? So this weekend, you know, the kiddos were gone. My wife, because of President's Day, decided to go and visit her parents. But I didn't get President's Day off, and there was some important stuff going on at work on Friday, so I'm really glad that I didn't take it off. But I stayed home. So I had the weekend to do whatever I wanted, and I didn't have to study for the Series 3 exam anymore. But what ended up happening was I spent almost the whole time doing my taxes. Like, it took pretty much all of Saturday to do my taxes. And then when Sunday came along, I was kind of, send it to speculatorseth@protonmail.com. As long as you don't go full Wolf of Wall Street. Oh, I definitely wouldn't. I want to have here's my plan. Too fast speculator. There you go. Anyways, I want to start a momentum fund that anybody can invest in. Well, not anybody. Anybody that is a accredited investor, but the minimum investment amount will be tiny, right? Like I will fund 10 million that we need for the strategy to even kind of work. But then I want to let, you can get into the fund for $1,000, for instance. So most funds, they don't allow that because like you have to make a significant enough contribution to their bottom line to increase. But my idea is, well, let's make. So right now you can go and you can get your Series 65 and you can trade as like an accredited investor, but there's not like really any big incentive to do so because like the number of investment opportunities that it opens up to you, it doesn't actually really open up any opportunities for you because you still don't have enough money to invest. The minimum investments for the things that open up to you are too big. But what if there was a fund that was kind of structured around getting as many of those people as possible and servicing that particular clientele specifically? That's what I want to do. And I think that we would start out with the momentum strategy and then, you slowly build up like with Renaissance Capital. Can you ask code? Yeah, well, yeah. So can I give you a piece of advice? When you're talking to somebody that is on a stream or is semi-famous or, typically has a lot of people asking them questions, just ask the question. Just because what we did there was you asked the question, you had to wait 5 seconds for me to go, oh yeah, sure, you can ask me a question. And now I have to wait a few seconds for you to actually ask the question, right? We could have just skipped that. You could have had the answer already. I think is a good begging, and I believe to begging you definitely need a pitch to get so that you can. What do you mean by begging? Beginning? Yeah, I think though I'm still kind of developing the momentum strategy, how I want to do it. So that was one of the things. I think it's still back on the list a little bit. I had the I got my data cluster kind of set up. Next thing I need to do is I need to test like if the data crunching bit works on it. So the way that I'm going to test that is I have a transcription algorithm that I want to run. So I think that if I do something where like my voice gets sent out through NDI to the other machine, and then there's the process sitting there listening to it, and then it would transcribe everything that I say. And it would use the video card to transcribe what I say, right? So if I can get that to work, then I know that like my data crunching through virtual machines running on Kubernetes works. Okay, then I'm good there. Then I go and I get the data and I start building the momentum strategy. Yes, I am a programmer by trade. Actually, I am a site reliability engineer is what they call it now. So I've kind of done a little bit of everything. I started out as like just a developer, and then I kind of became a developer in test is what they call it. Basically, the stuff that we were writing was things to help test the systems, but it was just as much development as any other kind of development. Though I have to say, I think that there is something to like, if you're a back-end developer, you gain knowledge and experience about specific back-end scenarios that are valuable, that sort of thing, right? But anyways, then we ended up doing a lot of like build systems for some reason, and then I got swept over into site reliability engineering. And site reliability engineering is like everything. You have to know everything. Basically, what is it? That's basically when there's a problem, I'll solve it. Okay, so first things first. Let's... okay. I'll look at that in a second. First things first, I'm going to pull up this thing here. That's so. There you are. Oh, yeah. Yeah, your trial ended back in November, actually. Okay, so what I will do is I will set it up to be 2 weeks from today. So March 5th, okay? So I just updated that. So now if you open up like the market depth window, market depth tape, it should pull up and it shouldn't give you an error. So try that. You might need to restart NinjaTrader. I'm not sure, but I think it should just work. Okay. What is cleaner? Okay, so I'm gonna have to copy that over. Let's do that over here. I'm gonna put it into Helix here. Oh wait, no, let me copy it that. Let me copy those ones. Did I? Yeah, I missed the T. Oh. Oh, I'd forget what is that particular parameter. Let's see here. NinjaTrader help guide, Ninja script, strategy, entry handling. Managed approach. Exit long stop market. Okay, so the parameters are quantity. Ugh. Wait, I don't see one that includes a Boolean at all. Oh, it's been since November and you should have come and started asking me sooner, man. But like the whole advantage of getting an indicator suite like that is that I'm very available, right? We're still relatively small. I can take the time to give everybody a little bit of a personal attention, especially if you email me. So never shy away from emailing me, even if it's like a stupid question. People ask me stupid questions, but I'm okay with answering stupid questions. Is live till canceled is the Boolean? How come I don't see that? Exit long, stop market. One is double stop price. One is int quantity double stop price. One is double stop price string from entry signal. One is double stop price signal name from entry signal. One is quantity stop price signal name from entry signal. Oh, wait. The following method variation is for experienced programmers who fully understand advanced order handling concepts. Bars in progress index is live till canceled. Okay, so it's that one down there that I just didn't see that. Okay, so... Oh, why? Okay. Hold on. So what... I've never used that particular method. What is the bars in progress? The index of the bars object the order is to be submitted against, used to determine what instrument the order is submitted for. Oh, okay. So 0, that's probably fine. True. The order will not expire at the end of the bar, but instead remain live until the cancel order method is called. Okay. Position.quantity. Is position some sort of object that you've got on your side there? Okay. And then stop price. I see. So the question is it better to put the stop price into a separate variable or to put it directly into the method? That's what the question is, huh? I gotcha. So I think in this particular case, it doesn't really necessarily matter, but I think that I would probably lean on the side of putting it out there first. Also, I wouldn't call it trail long. I would call it stop price, to make it clear that this is I'm going to use the uptrend on this super trend indicator here as my stop. So if I say stop price equals super trend to uptrend 1, that would make it really clear to anybody else reading it, or yourself in the future, I guess, because in this case, probably other people wouldn't be reading it, right? But that would make it clear to you that it's going to be the stop price. The other advantage of doing it this way, though, is if your algorithm is not working correctly, and you're like, well, why isn't it stopping out at the price that I want? Am I actually putting the stop where I think it is? Well, if you go into the debugger, you will see in the locals, you will see this trail long variable, and you'll be able to look at it and see what it is. Whereas if you do it this way, you'll have to like add a watch and calculate what that method is. And then what you get out of it might be a little weird, because there is some like multi-threading considerations there. Believe it or not, anytime that you're looking up something in one of these data series, there's potential threading implications, because it only reads those at certain times. So I would probably do it this way. In other words, if there's a calculation, I prefer to do the calculation outside of the method and then pass it into the method. But it depends. This is cleaner. This up here is cleaner, right? But it's like, if I'm ever going to want to see what the value of that was to debug or something, then it's easier to debug it if it's in a separate thing like that. Does that make sense? Okay, I'm looking to purchase a new computer for trading. Any recommendations? I hear Falcon computers are good. So I don't have any like specific brands per se. If I think that the easiest, cheapest one that you get right still is Build Redux. BuildRedux.com. And these guys, they build gaming PCs. You get pretty good price compared to like if you made it yourself. You don't really have to pick games. It's a matter of just say good. We'll just tell it that we're going to play Counter-Strike. Okay. So then it will give you a machine with a, where's the video card? GeForce RTX 4060. That's actually like bigger than you need. Okay. So that would get you something for 1200. You could probably do it cheaper than that. I don't know. Like the thing is I am not that much on, I don't know that much about like the system integrators because I always just build my own machine. It's not that hard to build your own machine. Like what I would do is I would just go to like PC parts picker. Right? And they have like these build guides and stuff. There you go. Entry level gaming build. $600. Okay. They give you, and then they describe what it is. So you get CPU, motherboard, memory. So on this, I would go up to 32 gigabytes of memory. Storage is fine. And then GPU, you can probably go down on the GPU. So here's the parts list. So now let's kind of change it a little bit. So they're got DDR4 3200, but they had 65 gigabytes. So then customize this parts list, sorry. So let's come in memory and do 32 gigabytes instead. Right. 3600. Oh, well, let's find some memory that's 3200. This one right here. Okay. And then we remove the memory that was already on there. Right, and then the other thing was the motherboard, or the video card, right? This video card. I'm just going to remove that video card. And I'm going to find looking for the right filter here. So a 1650 Super is probably about the cheapest we could go. Oh my gosh, 200. That one's okay. What about a 3650? There are 3050s, right? Okay. Asus Phoenix OC, 160 bucks. There you go. Motherboard, solid state drive, mid tower case. This has got your power supply. There you go. There you got a new machine for $619. You order those parts on Newegg or Amazon or wherever you want, and then the parts all come with manuals that you read to put it together, but it's basically like you plug and play, so it's not. The only part that is at all hard is putting the CPU in. And that's just, you got to align it right, because those pins are delicate, right? So you just need to align the dot up with the arrow, put it in, and then put you get a little grease on top of it and put the CPU, grease between the CPU and the heatsink. And that's it. That's the most complicated part. So if I was doing a computer, that's the way that I would do it. Octavius took along? Not bad. As long as I still think that we'd have to have a pretty tight. So 111 there was kind of like the stop out zone for shorts. So our return got to Market open. Sent you a screenshot. Okay. Yeah. Yep, we can close this, I think. I think we can close this. Now for hint to lag, I would like restart NinjaTrader, first of all. And then on your dollar index chart, I would set it up to only have 1 day of data. And if it really is a problem that we think it is, it should work if you only have 1 day of data. And if it doesn't work today, then it will work tomorrow. And yes, we do have the S&P 500 opening up here in a moment, so that should be interesting to see which way that goes. I guess we did get above like the Canadian news, so there's that. And there has been a decent amount of volume long since the Canadian news as well. I wouldn't say that it's across the board, but you are seeing it in the 10 years, so I guess I could see how you justify a long there. I think that if I had taken that trade, I would probably be looking to get out at 110 even and be frustrated that I'm not getting filled. So I'm not quite sure what to make of that, if there still will get filled, or if that's, you know, there's concern about it and it's going to flip back down. Oh, dude, I totally lost track of the time here. Wanted to pull up... Oh, well, it's too late now. You'll come back later? Okay. Well, we're here for another hour and a half, so... Lucas asks, Proton Mail? Yeah. No, I was hearing something about Proton Mail yesterday. I should look that up. Oh, that's right. The company shared the IP address of one of its users as part of a French investigation that led to the arrest of climate activists. Well, that's kind of interesting, because wasn't the whole point of Proton Mail to was so that people wouldn't have to deal with those sorts of problems? Not that that's why I was using it, but actually, come to think of it, I don't really know how that started. I just said, I need a new email address. It's just for Speculator Seth stuff, and I don't want it to be a Gmail account. So, but I'd say that the interface and everything is pretty good. Oh, yeah. When I read all of this, there's all this stuff that are all forced about that. They're all upset about that particular instance. I don't know. That doesn't particularly bother me because I'm not doing anything illegal, right? So if the government goes and asks them for information and they give it to them, I'm okay with that. I'm more concerned about anybody else reading it. What about your machine learning system you were talking about a few weeks ago? Did you go into it? It's still a work in progress. So basically what I did is I built a new machine, which has been great, by the way. I think it's improved the stream. I think I still want to buy another hard drive to try and record, like a really fast hard drive to try and record the data to. But other than that, the machine has been really great. The old machine I turned into a Linux box with the Kubernetes cluster on it. Well, it's not Kubernetes, it's K3S, but yeah. And what that allows me to do is it's kind of like a control plane for running virtual machines. So I could run virtual machines on my machine here, but I wanted something where, I can create scripts that automates it all and all of that sort of stuff, right? So the big question on my mind is still, if I do a virtual machine, it's a virtual machine, it's running on my Linux box, will it be able to access the video card? Will it be able to access the video card as a shared resource? And like, if I have multiple machines, will I be able to utilize the video cards from those multiple machines? That's kind of like my big question. So that's kind of like my next project. And I wanted to do that this weekend, but I did the taxes first, and the taxes just took like way longer than I wanted to, unfortunately. So that's kind of like the next step. And once I have that going, then I have two of these projects here. And you might, I might even allow people to help me with one of them. But basically one is going to be do backtesting momentum strategies. And then the other one is going to be backtesting with this data that I've been saving up for about a year now. Like, I've been exporting everything that comes through NinjaTrader in the 10-year and saving it. So I'm going to create a system that parses that data and allows me to do machine learning on it, right? But I think that that's a project that's probably going to take me like all year to really get very far with. What are they going to do though? Refuse? I think that there are some cases where if a company refuses, they're not going to go well for them, which is probably why Proton did what they did. Yeah. If they have a warrant, they have to give the information, right? Oh, yeah, okay, so this... There was no French activist scandal. People should actually read up on stuff they want to use as a source of righteous indignation. Otherwise they'll come across as merely ill-informed. So Proton did not log an IP address at the behest of a court order. And then they said, of course, Proton had to comply with a court order in their country. Every non-criminal organization will comply with the laws of the country they are operating in. So it was a court order. Okay, cool. As long as it's court ordered, I'm fine with it. Oh, okay, so we did get filled at 110 even, and there was a stop out a little bit. So now, I didn't really look too much at what are some of the key levels that we have on the upside. And it seems to me, if we come back here. So what was it? What was it on Friday again? Retail sales, was it? I don't remember what the news on Friday was anymore. I'm going to cheat and come over to Forex Factory and... Oh, no, it was PPI. It was PPI. Okay, so this drop was from PPI. And we did we did pierce that high from before PPI by a tick, but it is coming back pretty hard. So we are at some interesting levels, aren't we? And then next, beyond that, 0.5 perhaps. And then from there, not until like you get into like 08, which is where we have our position from, actually. But if it gets up to there, I might just double down. So we'll see. I'm looking on the DOM here to see if there's any interesting spots above us, but I don't really see any. There is below us at 25. Well, given the way that the market has been behaving today, I'm not going to say it's outside of the realm of possibility that they continue to trend up, but I think that they might have some difficulty doing that. I think that there is a little bit of pushback against this now. So I guess we just have to see. And here's the S&P 500 on the open right about at 5,000 and kind of fighting a little bit here. There was a decent bounce on the open, but it was very, very quick. Lucas says risk off. Let's see. You think that it's going to be a risk off day in the E-mini? That would be interesting. I guess. I actually, you know what? You're totally. I'm losing my place here. Like, okay, so we had huge options expiration Friday. So my thinking for today was that you're going to see a pretty big unclenching, and that it is likely to be selling. And that this could be the beginning of a little bit of a market pullback. So let's see what the E-mini does. We could potentially say short from 5,000. That's like a terrible spot to get go short from, just because like it's going to come back to that spot a lot. But that's the best we got. So let's see how far down they get from 5,000 today. Meanwhile, in the treasuries, could there be bidding as a flight to safety trade? Perhaps. Although I would say, there's been a pretty steady but choppy buying in the treasuries, and that kind of trend line in the cumulative delta seems to have broken. So it's unclear what the treasury is going to do next. Let's see here. Any need to check order fill for futures trading by checking on execution or on order update? Or is it only needed if you buy lots of stocks? Oh, you're talking about in the Ninja Trader stuff, huh? Yeah, for as long as the amount that you're trading is less than like the average amount on the book, I wouldn't worry about it. You know, but you're getting into like, do you want to do the advanced order management or, you know, any of that? I generally find that just saying enter long, exit long, etc., is good enough in the vast majority of cases. And I would use the versions of the methods that specify like a signal name or whatever, because then you can kind of like individually set stops and targets and stuff for it. But other than that, I wouldn't mess around with those kind of more advanced like the managed approach or any of that kind of stuff unless you find a need for it, right? It scales really well, so like when you need it, it will be relatively simple for you to shift things into what you're going to need, right? It's not like you go down the one path and it kind of, you build a bunch of other code on top of it and then it's really hard to switch later. It's not like that. Oh, you scratched it? What price was it actually from? 31? I guess that's okay. It is, you know, it is kind of giving me these vibes like often I like to get into things when they're like breaking out, you know? And so if I see, oh, there's 110 even and they're going to bust through it, I want to be like on the bid there, hoping that there's going to be a before she goes absorption and then the stop run and whatnot, right? And then it comes out there and I'm like, oh yeah, this is going. I want it to go further and I want it to go further, right? And I will always get stuck in those. Like very often, that's the end of it and it kind of comes back down and you can end up underwater very quickly on those sorts of things, right? And this is very much giving me those kinds of vibes. Like there was a pretty decent stop run above 110 even, and they're already back down below it. The dollar turned on you. Oh, that's a good observation. You know, I kind of stopped paying attention to the dollar, and I really shouldn't have, because they did go to like the 8.5 that I was looking at, and then well below that. Curious though that the Treasury is not responding as strongly to the dollar as it has in the past. So what do you think about that? That says to me that the macro environment has changed here a little bit. It used to be that the dollar and the treasuries were like super dominant, and the correlations between them was super dominant. And so if the dollar was declining, you'd see the treasuries bid up really extensively. But they're down. They were down at one point, you know, a good 20, 25 cents on the day. And the treasuries were only able to bust the high by like a few ticks. That's a little odd to me. So that suggests to me that the correlation has changed. That perhaps treasuries are remaining where they are because, hey, further inflation is still kind of a problem, and it kind of remains to be seen when the Federal Reserve will actually cut rates, and the market has kind of overpriced the cutting the rates. So there's your issue in the treasuries. Whereas over here in the dollar, it may be more about that a lot of countries are going into recession versus there's a lot of geopolitical risk out there. So maybe the dollar becomes a little bit decoupled from the treasuries for us. But that's a good thing for us. It is true, though, that when the dollar turned there, that's when the treasuries turned around. So the correlation is still there. It's just not nearly as intense as it was, huh? My mouth is dry. I'm definitely not enough water today. I see this post on Reddit. Can I talk politics for a second? It's like the Steven Crowder where he's like, you know, here's my position, change my mind, whatever. It's the meme with Steven Crowder. And the text says, House Republicans are motivated by cowardice, the Kremlin, or both. Changed my mind. So I don't think that they are motivated by the Kremlin. I think that they have been influenced by the Kremlin, though. But what is really motivating the Republican decisions right now is make America great again. The whole ideology that is kind of driving the Republican Party right now is America first. They believe that America has been doing things and helping people around the world at the expense of Americans. So this idea was primarily because they felt that American jobs were being sent overseas, right? But when it comes to like, what do you practically do about it with legislation today? The biggest target ends up being foreign assistance, giving other countries money. Now, the amount of money that gets sent to other countries is actually quite a trivial portion of our budget. And most of that money ends up coming back and stimulating the economy. And so that foreign assistance actually kind of helps us and makes us more money in the long run. But yeah, Republicans don't see that. All they care about is America first. And so between that and the disinformation influence campaign that the Kremlin has been running in the Republican Party, and that's why they come out the way that they do. And it is it's like one of the two most significant dynamics going on right now, right? The other one is immigration, right? The thing that working against the Democrats is immigration. There's so many people coming in that everyday Americans are starting to be affected negatively by it, and it may be close to a turning point where you lose elections because of that. Versus the big thing working against the Republicans is that the Republicans don't support the Ukraine war, even though the majority of the country does. And if Ukraine were to fall, they could probably place the blame solely on Republicans. And that's I think a negative for them in a general election. That's something that could hurt Republicans in a general election. So that's the thing that you got going on. So the whole thing, I think for a while, everybody was thinking, oh, well, it's just the economy, right? People are upset about inflation, but if Joe Biden is able to get the economy going before the election, then his poll numbers will improve, right? That was only a month ago when they were pushing this, right? But have you noticed that the Democrats not talking about that as much? Because basically what happened was the economic data did get better. The stock market rose to new highs, and it's frankly, a lot of people are talking like bubble levels. And Joe Biden's polling numbers haven't improved one bit. That's what happened. So they realized that, oh, actually, it has nothing to do with the economy. It's because of immigration and that he's old and people don't think that he's competent. So that's the election right now. As a European, I understand that many people in the USA do not want to pay anymore so much for NATO while we are profiting. Well, I think that a lot of people this is really a Donald Trump thing, but yeah, France and Germany are not putting enough money into NATO. You're supposed to be spending 2%. So this was something that I thought was so funny, actually. Did you see, I think it was the beginning of last week, where Donald Trump said, for those countries that aren't paying the 2% GDP that you're supposed to be paying to NATO, I would totally encourage Russia to go and invade those countries, right? Here's the thing. All of the countries that are paying the 2% GDP are the ones that are at risk of being invaded by Russia, okay? All of those countries that are on the border with Russia pay the 2%, okay? It's the ones that are behind that, namely France and Germany, that don't pay, right? So the countries that don't pay, that Donald Trump would encourage Russia to invade, there is like zero chance that Russia is going to invade, at least anytime soon. Right? If Russia was on the border of Germany, then maybe they would step up. Right? So I thought that was like a really funny. Obviously, it wasn't a well thought out comment. He was just trying to say something bombastic, right? So I think we probably make too big of a deal out of it, but that's the thing that's going on. Is that France and Germany don't pay enough on the military spending, aren't putting up as much money, and the United States is doing it for them. And the United States doesn't want to do it anymore. And so France and Germany in particular are very, very concerned that Donald Trump wins and then they are forced to do that. Because spending that amount of money would be a pretty big deal for them. It wouldn't be very politically popular for them. Like, that it would cause political problems for them at home. And that's why they're so concerned about it. This is a dynamic that's going on that you're never going to hear them outright say, but that's what's going on. Are they going to keep going here? I mean, there is some decent absorption there at 01. Not really. I mean, the S&P did dip by about 15 points. Let's say 14 points. But it doesn't look too dire there yet. And the dollar didn't really move that much either. But it did start heading down again, so it might be that. This rise right here was a little bit more dramatic, though. Like, the buying volume came in quite quickly. And it was market orders pushing it up. So there's some absorption right there at 01. So that's kind of like a continuation signal. I wouldn't say that the uptrend is strong enough that when you're getting a strong uptrend, take those every time. But I would say right now it's a little bit iffy, so it's more of a 50-50 kind of a trade. Still watching it carefully here, see if they make another tick further. I'm a little bit more interested in it now because before I was like saying, oh, you know, these are the vibes where like I think it's gonna go, and then it fizzles out. Okay, well it did that, and then it came right back up here. So now that it's came right back up here, I'm like, oh, maybe there actually is something to the trend. Because that time I saw the volume come in across the board. I feel like I've been typing something for a really long time here, but it's like it's only been 5 minutes, right? I've just been watching this. It's another tick. I should probably recenter it here. But that's been like 1, 2, 3, 4 since they broke out there. It's kind of when I first detected it. let's say 3 ticks higher that time. And the S&P 500 is, I don't think that it's dire. So I'm not sure that this is a flight to safety trade. But the S&P 500 isn't doing well. It could well turn dire later. We'll see. How much until... Man, my throat isn't very good today. How much until GPTs are able to completely code for us? Probably many, many years, if not decades. I think it'll be many decades before I run into... So I got GPT at work. We use it quite a bit, but I don't trust what it says. And I've run into many, many situations where it told us something that was just outright BS. Was just completely false. And like we listened to it at first and that kind of led us down the wrong road. So I think it's gonna be a long time. I could not build any indicator or strategy with GPT that was working properly. Yeah, you definitely, like, to even get something that compiles, you really do need to know how to code. Yeah, I ask market microstructure stuff that I have to correct all the time because it's basically wrong. Well, yeah, because think about where it's getting its information from, right? Like, most of the information from ChatGPT is coming from, like, Reddit and stuff, not academic journals. So, yeah, it's going to get it wrong. You can always ask it, what would speculator Seth say about this thing, and see what it comes back with, and that might be better. Seriously, try it. Mad that I couldn't capitalize on the breakout even though I had it right. Well, I don't know, Octavius. It's kind of hard in a move as limited as that for us to say, like, did we have it right or not? Yeah. Because for all we know, that little decline and come back up, or maybe even that original breakout, may all just be noise. Like, I don't think I've seen enough coming through here to really say, like, this is a strong meta order going long, right? So, but that also comes back to where it was like, well, it worked, but I would have been pretty tight on the taking the profits, right? I had a chat where I got ChatGPT to pretend to be Gary Norton. It's still kind of useless, but funny. But yeah, I bet that would probably work. So, like, just realize that, like, OpenAI is basically having these things watch YouTube videos and read Reddit. So, like, if you ask it about me, different versions of GPT have kind of been different, but generally speaking, it knows who I am and it knows how I tend to say things. So, and it seems to be drawing from the stuff that I say both on YouTube and on Reddit. So if you ask it, you know, Gary Norton, he doesn't have as much content out, but me, I'm here every day, right? So if you ask it a question and ask it to, you know, say what Speculator Seth would say, it does a pretty good job at mimicking me, actually. It's actually a little scary. No, we didn't say that. Well, I don't think. Yeah, I don't think I would say anything of what Norton says is lies. I think that he's correct and that he's pretty open about that it's an extremely difficult way to trade. I think what Lucas is getting at is like, okay, if you're a retail trader and you want to day trade, how should you go about doing it, right? And I would not recommend trying to be a pure scalper because the robots are just very difficult to compete against, right? But that doesn't make any of what Gary teaches incorrect. Or like wrong or a grift, like, because he tells you this. He tells you, like, we are like doing pure market making. It's very difficult. There's a lot of competition for it, but I want to teach it because I don't want this art to be lost. So I think it's a good thing that he's teaching it. But to realize profit from it is virtually impossible. Yeah, maybe. I kind of think of it as like making money from anything day trading is almost impossible, and the losing money from it is the default, right? So what you're saying is not any different from anything else in day trading, right? You haven't encountered a large drawdown doing a Gary Norton style of things? On what instrument? And for how long? For how long, that is also a very key question there. Huh. That is interesting then. I don't know. So, Luke, you were trading UB for a while and did pretty good with it, didn't you? UB, you got to be careful with. I maybe it wasn't Lucas, maybe it was somebody else, but I had somebody that went through the whole Gary Norden thing and did pretty well with it for a long time, actually. No, it wasn't Lucas. Who was it? It was another, like, you know, was another one of you guys that has been around just as long. But I can't remember off of the top of my head who it was. Anyways. I think that he was doing pretty good with it on UB for a long time, but I don't think that also, I'm not sure if he still does it. Yeah, you do scalp and get, that's true. But you never learned from Norden. Okay. Who was it? Trying to rack my brain here to remember who it would be. What the name was. It's too hard to remember names, man. I don't know how people do it. There's some people, like there's some of these politicians that I worked with, like, and it's been like almost 10 years now. And, you know, I'll bump into them every once in a while and they're like, oh, hey, Seth, and yada, yada. And I'm like, how do you effing remember me? Like, you're meeting new people every day. You remember me. That's crazy to me. I don't know how they do it, but they remember everybody because it's crazy. Yeah, being charismatic is part of politics. Yeah, and part of it would be like, oh, you say your name and then they pretend like they remember you. But no, like, they see me and they say something first and they say my name first. So it's like, what? How did they do that? How did they do that? But I think some of them, what we really did just make enough of an impression that they remember it at a key time. He's still kind of struggling here, but it's not like just plummeting, not yet. So what I'm seeing so far is like, yeah, I'm expecting to see an unclenching. 15 points is pretty gentle, relatively speaking, compared to like what it's been like in the past. So I remember there was one time where there was like the unclenching and the selling on the Monday afterwards was really dramatic. I don't know. When I think about this whole thing, though, I keep coming back to that. I think one of the major problems is the time frame. It seems to me that a lot of the sorts of things that really work in trading require you to, when you do win, to really, really win big. And at least when you're scalping futures, that is a little bit limited. Your potential upside is limited. So unless you're willing to hold it overnight and for multiple days to let a really strong trend really, really play out, I'm a little bit skeptical about, long-term profits from futures trading, day trading. Theoretically, you should be able to market make, and I think that market making really was like the day trading strategy for futures. And it may just be the case that the robots have taken that over and that it's just humans just can't do it anymore. Maybe that's the case. I hope that somebody comes along and proves something where you get like 5 years worth of profits doing something and it's kind of repeatable and proves me wrong. But that's just from the information that I have, that's kind of like my current conclusion right now. That's why I'm like kind of, as I go along, just moving higher and higher time frame, because that's where I've been doing better, you know? Say, because markets are so efficient nowadays, it's nearly impossible to make money, right? But there must be rules and laws the algos follow to make it efficient, so there must always be ways to follow these algos and laws and make money too. Well, okay, so there is something we call market microstructure. So what is market microstructure? Market microstructure is essentially the study of how the rules of the game can lead to certain behaviors and optimal strategies. Okay. So, you know, if there is a behavior that is consistently shown in the data, for instance, what's the word I'm looking for here? Volatility, but volatility is not the word. But in the world of volatility, okay, implied volatility is usually higher than realized volatility, right? Okay. Same thing happens in the treasury market. The forwards usually are, you know, imply more risk than what actually ends up happening. And so if that's why, like, doing basis trades in treasuries tends to be a profitable strategy. You have to have enough money to be able to hold the treasury, but it tends to be a profitable strategy, right? Why do those happen? Well, part of it is just rules of the game that, you know, you have to hedge yourself against the unknown risks out there, and the unknown risks are more than the risks that actually happen most of the time. And you have to do that because every once in a while something does happen, and it's such a big deal that then, right? And so it kind of evens out in the end, but that leads to a behavior, okay? So that is maybe one thing that you could put under the umbrella of market microstructure. But like even more clear would be like, because we use a limit order book, and because of the way that the limit order book works, how does the market behave because of that, right? And so there are certain strategies because of that. So we know two such strategies that are kind of based on market microstructure that you can utilize in your trading. One is called catching the edge, and the other one is called what do we call it? The lure, I guess. So catching the edge is you think that it's about to tick up, you hit into it with a market order as it's ticking up, and if you do it correctly, then it should tick up, and you have the ability to get back out of that position at break even. Okay, and that doesn't guarantee that you make money, but that helps you because now your probability of, you know, getting a winning trade is more like 50-50 instead of 45-55, right? Or you can do the lure, which is like there's going to be absorption there. You can join that absorption, and that's a good way for you to get filled with a limit order and reduce the chances of it going through you, right? Okay, so those are strategies that, based on the way that the market actually works, will always exist as long as the market works that way. In order to get rid of the catching the edge, the market rules would have to change, right? Okay. So for what Retro was saying, there must be ways to follow these algos and laws to make money too. There are. The problem is just that those are the most competitive trades, or the ones that we know about. Maybe you discover one that isn't widely known, hasn't been discovered yet. Okay. But the ones that we know about, those are like the most competitive edges. And so there's already and only so many people can make money off of it, right? So basically what you can go do and is say, okay, so there's going to be 2 levels of this. Okay. So just kind of go with me. This is a little bit theoretical, right? I think, or I know that at 9 o'clock that the price in the 10-year treasury is going to be 10.09.5 because I'm a time traveler. Okay. How many contracts can I buy? Because if I buy like 1 million contracts, it's going to go like well above 09.5, and then I'm going to have to sell them and I'm going to lose money, right? So there's an optimal number of contracts for me to trade that will bring the price up to 09.5, and then my time comes and, you know, the market is pinned at 09.5 and I can get out, essentially, right? Okay. How many contracts is that? Well, there's math to do that, okay? So now we don't know that it's going to go to 09.5, right? So the second level of this would be, we just had some sort of market event. And I believe, based on my experience, that market event will result in X thousand net contracts buying in the instrument. Let's say 15,000 net contracts buying. And I should be able to, given the current liquidity conditions, estimate how far that will move things, right? And once I know where that is, now I can come in and I can try and size it. I can try and say, okay, so if there's going to be this many thousand contracts that are going to come up and buy it, I can buy X contracts now and then sell into those guys when they're buying it up there, right? Okay, well, the point of all of that was to establish that there is actually an optimal number. There is actually an optimal number of contracts to trade. And if you trade more than that number of contracts based on what you know is going to happen, then it's a waste. You actually lose more, right? To optimize your profits, you have to have the optimal number of contracts, right? Which means for any one given edge, there's only so much money available to it, right? People always say, well, if this is such a great edge, wouldn't you be able to just make 1% per day? And then if you did that forever and it kept compounding and compounding, you would be a trillionaire. That doesn't make any sense. Well, no, because one edge, you can only trade so many contracts. And once you get beyond that number, it doesn't scale anymore. That's why it stops, right? So for things like catching the edge, yeah, there's robots that try and catch the edge. And at least like the most effective form of catching the edge, where there's really like less than 100 contracts up there, there's a robot there that will snatch it up every time and beat you to it, right? So only so many people can make money from that edge, and you have to be one of the fastest to get it, right? But all of those things apply when we're talking about technical edges, right? When you start talking about like an informational edge, then it's kind of a different thing. So there's still like an optimal number of contracts and so forth, but the market is, you know, what actually drives price is the orders. And the orders can be so off kilter from like what is actually like the real everything that we know, that, you know, it doesn't necessarily drive price. That can provide opportunities where you might be able to get really good prices and so forth. But you would have to have something that eventually causes people to start trading on that thing after you, right? But the point there is that because the way that the market works, that the orders have so much impact, it results in a market that is very statistically efficient, but not very informationally efficient. Meaning it is very, very difficult to find a statistical edge. If you do find it, they can be very reliable. And so there's very, very valuable things about finding technical edges like that. If you can find one, get everything you can out of it, right? Very difficult to find, extremely reliable, versus extremely easy to find, not very reliable, is the informational edge, right? So informational edge is everywhere, and that's where I kind of say it's better for a retail trader, a day trader, to look for those informational edges. But there's reliability problems with it. So it's hard. That's one of the things that makes it hard, but that's the game that we play. Your trading style must suit your personality. Well, I would say that your trading style must suit the edge that you actually have. This is what I think. And yeah, Daniel's correct that it's almost impossible to get a good queue position. Especially in the 10-year treasury. It's like if you're at the front of the queue and you get filled, probably something is wrong. Right. If I get to put an order out on the limit and I get filled right away, that is like a warning sign to me that it's not a good trade. If it's a good trade, it should be very difficult to get filled. Unless, there's icebergs going on and that and whatnot. Sending out a feeler or something. Yep, a lot of money is spent on speed, so it's probably one of the most difficult ways to trade. Yeah. So I was saying, like, to find... So the way that I think about the technical edges is, like, there are these people out there that they have all of these robots running, 24/7, and armies of PhDs to find those edges and exploit them, right? I'm pretty smart. I know that the whole meme is, like, anybody that says that they're really smart, they must not be very smart. I don't say that or come to that conclusion just because I think so highly of myself. It's because I've been on this earth now for 38 years, and that's all anybody's ever told me is, oh, you're pretty smart, Seth. Well, it's an ADHD thing. I'm a quick learner. You absorb a lot of information. You're interested in a lot of things that people aren't necessarily interested in. I will still make really stupid mistakes. I'll still make very, very stupid mistakes. But I'm pretty bright, okay? Relative to the population. I don't know what my IQ would be, but I would think that it would probably be a little bit above average, right? But I am not a PhD in math, okay? And these guys, the stuff that we know about market microstructure, I understand it, and I'm pretty proud of myself for understanding it and being able to explain it to you and make it relevant to you. And I think that is a really big, like, feather in my cap that kind of shows, yeah, actually, Seth, you are pretty smart, okay? But I never would have come up with that stuff on my own. Absolutely never, right? So if that's the stuff that is known, and in order for us to find a real edge, we have to find something that is unknown, which means that it's probably going to be even more complicated than the stuff that we already know. Like, that really puts in perspective how difficult those edges really are to find. If you found one, first of all, you're probably wrong. It's probably not actually an edge and you're just being fooled by randomness. But if you really truly find one, you've found something special, and it's very hard to find. So it's funny, there was this person the other day, and they're like, oh, I'm making money doing X thing, and I've been doing it for a while, and yada, yada, yada. I'm like, nah, it's probably not what you think. I could backtest it for you. So I started talking to them about it, and trying to backtest it. And that was some of the stuff that we did yesterday. But then they were like, oh, except for that, the TMO is a little bit different. There are some, like, enhancements that my dad put into it. Oh, so you're a kid. Good grief. I don't know if I'm going to finish that one. Although I have tested TTM squeeze before, and it was one of the better setup sightseeing. So. Let's see here, what time is it? Oh, we still got 20 minutes left. You know what? With this uptrend, it's stays up there, right? Like we've had 17,000 contracts now at 25 half, at 2 half rather, uptick. That's not pulling back very far. So seems like the meta order is there. I think that I missed it. We kind of already saw how it would have been really, really hard to trade, but worth eight ticks. It's not bad. The sucky thing though is that the trend is going against my swing trade. So what do we do about that? I don't know. Should I get it off and take it at break even? No, well, I have my stop up there. I'm just gonna leave it. I'm just gonna leave it alone. Because I do think that the move is lower, not higher. Where does that put us on a daily chart, by the way? Okay. So we've kind of been in... There was kind of like this congestion area. We moved lower, and now we're kind of in this congestion area again. So I think that I'm okay thinking that it's probably going to stay in this range a little bit until we get another piece of news and we get hammered down again. Is what I think is going to happen. But it's not necessarily very good to be... Well, I mean, if I got it from here, I guess that's an okay position. But I don't want to have to hold it through all of that. You know, that kind of sucks. TTM squeeze available in Ninja Trader? Yes, I think. So the one that I back tested was I have to look it up. Hold on. Part of the thing is I've run into some things where like it backtests okay, but then when you actually like trade it, it's not quite the same as the backtest. So I'm not going to say that this is like a strategy that you should trade per se, but I'd say that that's better than random. Oh, actually I'm going in the wrong spot. I need to be, yeah, down in here. Oh, I don't remember what this one is about now. No, that one's the foyer. Ah, okay. So I used AMA's squeeze channel is what I used. That's a lizard indicator. Is it the same as a TTM squeeze? I think they're similar. Let's do all indicators. Squeeze channel. Two versions of the squeeze momentum indicator are frequently discussed: the Bollinger Band squeeze and the Bollinger-Keltner squeeze. Other than the below description, you may also review our squeeze indicator spotlight with video. So that is basically what a TTM squeeze is, though. So there's just like I think a slight variation on this, but I think that the old, like the end results is pretty similar. We could actually backtest if you want. I haven't run the backtest in it in a while. On it in a while, rather. See if it still looks good. I think I need to go and delete the thing that I had yesterday, or like set it to not compile. Oh, it was an indicator, wasn't it? Yeah. Exclude from compilation. Compile. Compile. Yeah, he was, so when I talked to him, he was using Thinkorswim. Actually, so you know what kind of made me want to give up on it? Was I went over to do it on Thinkorswim, and it, my demo account over there didn't work anymore, and they had no way for me to do a demo. So like I couldn't use Thinkorswim anymore. So that kind of made me be like, maybe I'm not doing this. Okay. AAA Squire. Wow, well, I've got a lot of stuff set here for it. But let's do an ES on a 1 minute chart and go back to 2018. Break, end of day, 1 minute. Probably want include commission turned on, even though I don't even know if I have those set up correctly. Oh, that's not bad. It only goes long, though. Wait, only 364 trades over 5 years? Really? And the strongest point was during 2020, and it's kind of hasn't made a new high in 2 years. So that's not the best. So only trades a certain time span as part of it. Ninja Trader has R squeeze. I don't see that. R squeeze. It must be called something slightly different. Or maybe it's one of those indicators that we don't see the code for. No, not strategies. Indicators. Nope. Yeah, it must be called something slightly different, huh? Are they? When you post the link, I can't see them. Oh. Get this other one compiling. Is it close or is it closes? 133. Oh, I need a semicolon there. Are these supposed to be semicolons instead of commas? I always, I've used so many different languages that I kind of forget which is which. I just need brackets. Semicolons. Oops. What was the name of it, Rito? Or were you saying it's like a downloadable from their user app share? Why is it not like that? Oh, it's not highs, it's high. One more. Can I do double and method group? Wait, where did that? Oh, this will be SMA 1. Da-da-da-da. This is both of the indicators into one, but I'm not completely done. I needed to do the linear regression and all that sort of stuff. Actually, I think if I put it on a chart, we'll draw something. Let's see. Why does it want me to use a tick chart? That's weird. 1 minute. Okay. I don't know what to use for these. I didn't set defaults at all. Error requesting bar series. That's weird. Just do it in one line like that. I've never gotten that error before, so I'm kind of like, okay, there you go. Now it gives me something. Except for that the lines are like, this line is always 0. That's interesting. How come it's not showing me the section for me to change the series? Did that change? Plots. How come it doesn't show me plots? And maybe I have to add it. Because the 1 is probably okay. Oh, that's weird. That's not what I expected to see at all. I think there's some problems in the calculations, but it does show something. Okay. I don't know. Well, maybe we'll come back to that another day. On this one, though. So what if I do it on ZN? Oh, it's terrible. It's terrible. Terrible on CN. But that's probably because it only goes long, huh? Yeah, you know what? That was a little bit of naivety on my part. from back in the day. For sure. Because I was like, oh, well, if it only does the long one, then only do the long one. But really, you should do both sides. Is short signal. I think that these are negatives, so I think that that should be fine. Is that worse? It's worse. That's funny. But I don't, well, I have set stops and targets and stuff, don't I? Yeah. Okay, so what if our stop was 32 ticks and our reward factor was 10? I could try and optimize it, but yeah, that didn't really change a whole lot, to be honest with you. That's very interesting. And why is it? Oh, well, 44% isn't terrible. But it must be getting the opposite signal a lot, because exit on session close, there's a lot of them. Oh, actually, what's with that? Okay. Okay, I see what's going on here. Is that the sizes that we're talking about here are too big. There's too many properties. Especially with the RT R squared period and stuff. Jeez. Oh, this is the two of them together, isn't it? It's basically never going to get to those targets, though. Still, huh? All right, fine. Fine. Oh, it's about time for us to go. Oh, we should be able to run this one optimization run, though. But it kind of looks to me like that it's not calibrated very well. There's too many properties in this strategy. So I don't know why I picked the metrics that I had. But but that was like before 2020. It was like almost 5 years now. Wow. Can you believe that? It's been that long. Huh. What's the best one that we got then? 14. 14 tick stop. Huh. Oh, it's not taking short trades still. Oh, that's why. Durr. So stupid. Why is that last one taking so long? Well, okay, so that was better. Oh, wait. Oh, yeah, okay. So it does make some money on the short trades, but just not as much as on the long trades. Well, it's time for me to get going. I will see you guys tomorrow. In the meantime, stay excellent, team.